My sister cloned my boyfriend's voice using AI to break us up. The voice in the audio message was definitely Jake's. Same slight rasp, same way he pronounced my name Sarah instead of Sarah, same nervous laugh he did when he was being mean about someone behind their back. But Jake had never, ever talked about me like this. I swear to God, Marcus, she's so clingy, his voice said through my phone speaker. Sarah thinks we're going to get married or some shit. Like, the sex is good, but she's not wife material, you know? And don't even get me started on how she looks first thing in the morning. My hands were shaking as I sat in my Honda Civic outside the campus library at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Emma had sent me the voice message 20 minutes ago with a text that just said, "I'm so sorry you had to find out this way." She'd included a screenshot of what looked like Jake's contact info in her phone, claiming he'd sent it to her by accident, meant for his roommate Marcus. I played it again. And again. Each time, my 2-year relationship with Jake crumbled a little more. The worst part is she thinks I'm faithful, Jake's voice continued in the message. Bro, if she knew about Madison from my econ class, or that girl from the coffee shop last weekend. Sarah's so naive, it's actually kind of sad. This couldn't be real. Jake had just told me he loved me 3 days ago when we were studying together in his dorm room. He'd been talking about us getting an apartment together next semester. We'd been planning to meet his parents over Christmas break. But there was his voice, clear as day, saying things that made me want to throw up. I called him immediately. It went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. By the time I drove the 15 minutes back to my apartment, Emma had sent 2 more messages. I know this is devastating and I couldn't keep lying to you after he sent me that by mistake. Emma was my older sister by 3 years, 27 to my 24. We'd always been close, maybe too close. She was the first person I'd called when Jake asked me out sophomore year, the first person I'd told when we said I love you, the person who helped me pick out the sexy lingerie I'd worn for our 2-year anniversary last month. Emma had been there for every milestone of our relationship. Which made this betrayal cut even deeper. I texted Jake frantically, "We need to talk right now." Then, "I know about Madison." Then, "How could you say those things about me?" Nothing. Radio silence. Emma called me at 12:23 a.m. "Honey, are you okay? I've been worried sick since I sent that." "How did he even get your number?" I asked, my voice hoarse from crying. "We met at that party you brought me to last month, remember? He said he wanted to stay in touch in case he ever needed gift ideas for you." I thought it was sweet. Emma's voice was soft, sympathetic. "Sarah, I am so sorry. I went back and forth for hours about whether to tell you. I can't reach him. He's probably embarrassed that he got caught. Give it until tomorrow, then confront him in person. Don't let him gaslight you, you have proof now." I hung up and played the voice message one more time. Jake's voice, Jake's laugh, Jake's casual cruelty. I deleted his number and blocked him on everything. It would be 2 weeks before I learned the truth about what my sister had done. Those 2 weeks were the worst of my life. I threw myself into my senior capstone project, spending 16-hour days in the library's computer lab working on my digital media thesis. Anything to avoid thinking about Jake's voice saying those horrible things. My friends kept asking what happened. One day Jake and I were the couple everyone envied, and the next day I was telling people we'd broken up and I didn't want to talk about it. Emma checked on me constantly. She'd show up at my apartment with takeout from Chen's Garden, my favorite Chinese place, and listen to me cry about how stupid I'd been to think Jake actually loved me. She never once suggested I should hear his side of the story. Instead, she'd rub my back and say things like, "You deserve so much better," and I always thought he seemed a little sketchy. On day 6, Emma told me she'd seen Jake at Starbucks with some blonde girl who was definitely not just a study partner. On day 9, she mentioned that her friend Casey had seen him at a party all over some brunette. Each update felt like a fresh knife wound, confirming everything that voice message had revealed about who Jake really was. Jake tried to reach me exactly once during those 2 weeks. On Thursday, October 12th at 3:17 p.m., he showed up at my apartment. I watched him through the peephole, standing in the hallway looking confused and hurt, knocking for almost 10 minutes. He kept saying, "Sarah, please, I don't understand what I did wrong. Can we just talk?" But I knew it was an act. I'd heard his real thoughts about me in his own voice. Emma happened to call right as he was leaving. When I told her about Jake showing up, she got protective immediately. "That's classic manipulator behavior," she said. "He knows he got caught, so now he's trying to confuse you. Sarah, you cannot let him back into your life. Promise me." "I won't," I said. I keep thinking about all the times he said he loved me. Was any of it real? Probably not, honey. Guys like Jake are really good at saying what they think you want to hear. The breakthrough came on day 15, Friday, October 20th at 2:43 a.m. I was in the computer lab working on the audio editing portion of my thesis when I stumbled across an article about AI voice cloning technology. The headline read, "New AI can perfectly mimic anyone's voice from just 30 seconds of audio." My blood went cold. The article explained how someone could use readily available AI tools to clone a person's voice with scary accuracy, using nothing more than audio samples from social media videos or voice messages. The cloned voice could then be made to say anything, absolutely anything, and it would sound completely authentic to the human ear. I thought about all the Instagram stories Jake had posted over the past 2 years. Videos of him singing along to songs in his car. Voice messages he'd sent me that I'd screenshotted and shown Emma when I thought he was being particularly sweet. That video Emma had taken of him doing impressions at her birthday party back in August. My hands started shaking as I opened my laptop and began searching for voice analysis software. I still had that audio message saved in my phone. If it was AI generated, there might be digital fingerprints, tiny artifacts that would prove it wasn't actually Jake's voice. What I found 3 hours later changed everything. But first, I needed to find out exactly how much audio of Jake's voice my sister had access to. I spent the rest of that night going through every single interaction Emma had ever had with Jake, and the picture that emerged made me sick to my stomach. Emma had been systematically collecting audio of Jake's voice for months. I started with my own phone. All those voice messages Jake had sent me over 2 years, sweet good morning texts, funny observations about his professors, him singing happy birthday to me back in March. I'd screenshotted dozens of them to show Emma because I was so happy, so proud of my relationship. Every single screenshot clearly showed the audio waveform and duration. Emma had access to hours of Jake's voice just from what I'd shared with her. Then I checked social media. Jake's Instagram stories from the past year told an even worse story. Emma had liked or responded to practically every single story where Jake's voice was audible. The video of him doing karaoke at Marcus's birthday party in July, Emma had commented, "You're so funny," with 3 laughing emojis. The story of Jake explaining his fantasy football picks while driving to campus, Emma had reacted with the fire emoji. Even random videos of Jake singing along to the radio, she'd engaged with every single one. But the smoking ban was Jake's Instagram story from August 15th, Emma's birthday party. I remembered that night clearly. I brought Jake to Emma's apartment for her birthday celebration, and he'd been nervous about meeting more of my family members. To break the ice, Emma had gotten him talking about his talent for voice impressions. Jake could do perfect imitations of celebrities, cartoon characters, even people we knew. Everyone was cracking up as he cycled through his repertoire: Matthew McConaughey, Kermit the Frog, our linguistics professor Dr. Peterson. Emma had filmed the whole thing. "This is amazing, Jake. Do more," she'd encouraged, holding up her phone to capture every voice, every inflection, every laugh in between impressions. The video was 12 minutes long. Jake had been talking almost non-stop, demonstrating his vocal range, showing off different tones and emotions. I thought she was just being a good hostess, making my boyfriend feel welcome. Now I realized she'd been harvesting material. The timestamp on that video was August 15th, 11:47 p.m. The voice message she'd sent me was received on October 3rd, 11:47 p.m. Exactly the same time. That couldn't be a coincidence. At 6 a.m., I drove to the university's digital forensics lab. As a senior digital media major, I had access to professional audio analysis software through Dr. Kim's advanced multimedia class. I uploaded the voice message Emma had sent me and ran it through a spectral analysis program. The results appeared on screen at 6:23 a.m. Artificial harmonics detected. Frequency patterns inconsistent with natural speech. Digital artifacts present at 0.7, 1.3, and 2.1 second intervals. The voice message was fake. Completely, undeniably fake. I sat in that empty lab as the sun came up, staring at the proof on my computer screen. Emma had destroyed my relationship with AI-generated audio. She'd used Jake's own voice against him, against us, knowing I would never think to question something that sounded so authentically like him. But why? Emma had always been supportive of my relationship with Jake. She'd helped me pick out his Christmas gift last year. She'd given me advice when we'd had our first real fight back in June. She'd seemed genuinely happy for us. Unless she hadn't been happy for us at all. I pulled up Emma's dating apps on my laptop. She'd always been open about her Tinder and Bumble profiles, sometimes showing me funny messages from matches when we hung out. Her last successful date according to her Instagram was April 18th. Her last relationship had ended 14 months ago. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "How are you feeling today, honey? Want me to bring coffee and bagels over?" Looking at that message, I finally understood. Emma hadn't been protecting me from Jake's cruelty. She'd been protecting herself from my happiness. I stared at Emma's text about bringing coffee and bagels, and something inside me snapped. For 15 days, she'd been coming over with food and comfort, playing the role of a caring sister while I fell apart over a relationship she had deliberately destroyed. Every hug, every "you deserve better," every fake piece of evidence about Jake cheating, it had all been a performance. I needed to know how deep this went. Instead of confronting her immediately, I texted back, "That would be great. I'm really struggling today." She responded within 30 seconds, "Of course you are, sweetie. Jake wasn't worth your tears. I'll be there in an hour with everything chocolate chip." The casual way she dismissed Jake, the man I'd loved, the man she'd systematically framed, made my stomach turn. But I needed her to come over. I needed to see her face when I played that voice message again, now that I knew what to look for. While I waited, I did something I should have done 2 weeks ago. I tried to call Jake. His number was still blocked in my phone. With shaking hands, I unblocked it and dialed. It rang 4 times before he picked up. "Sarah?" His voice was cautious, confused. I didn't think I'd hear from you again. Jake. Just saying his name made me want to cry. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Okay. Of course. Sarah, I've been trying to figure out what I did wrong for 2 weeks. That day I came to your apartment, you wouldn't even. Have you ever sent voice messages to Emma? Like, actual audio messages from your phone to hers?" Long pause. "Emma? Your sister Emma?" "No, never. Why would I?" "Sarah, what is this about? Do you even have her phone number?" "I mean, yeah, from that party at her place. But we've never texted or anything. The only time we've ever communicated was when she posted that video of me doing impressions on her Instagram story, and I just reacted to it with a thumbs up emoji." His voice was getting more concerned. "Sarah, you're scaring me. What happened? Why did you block me on everything?" I closed my eyes. The relief was overwhelming, but so was the rage. "Jake, I need you to listen to something. I'm going to play an audio message, and I need you to tell me if you've ever said these words to anyone, ever." I put the phone on speaker and played Emma's fake voice message. Jake's AI-generated voice filled my apartment. "I swear to God, Marcus, she's so clingy. Sarah thinks we're going to get married or some shit. What the fuck?" Jake's real voice cut through the recording. "Sarah, stop. Stop playing that. What the hell is that? I never. Who made this? This is insane." I stopped the playback. "You've never said any of those things? Are you kidding me? Sarah, I love you. I've been miserable for 2 weeks thinking I'd somehow hurt you without knowing how. I don't even know anyone named Madison in my econ class. There is no girl from a coffee shop. This is..." He paused, and I could hear him breathing heavily. "Someone faked this. Someone made fake audio of me saying this shit." "I know," I whispered. "I figured it out last night. Emma sent this to you? She said you sent it to her by accident, that it was meant for Marcus." Jake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Harder. Sarah, I need you to think about this very carefully. Emma had access to that video of me doing impressions at her party. 12 minutes of me doing different voices, different tones. If someone wanted to clone my voice, they'd have more than enough material, I finished. Your sister destroyed our relationship on purpose. Before I could respond, I heard Emma's key in my front door lock. I'd given her a spare key 6 months ago when I'd had food poisoning and needed someone to bring me medicine. I have to go, I whispered to Jake. She's here. Sarah, don't. I hung up and quickly closed my laptop, but not before taking screenshots of the audio analysis results and saving them to my cloud drive. Emma walked in carrying a bag from Einstein Brothers Bagels and 2 large coffees, wearing the same sympathetic expression she perfected over the past 2 weeks. Hey, sweetie, she said, setting the food on my kitchen counter. You sounded really down in your text. Did something happen? I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The concerned furrow in her brow, the way she dressed down in an old sweatshirt and jeans to match my devastated state, the carefully modulated tone of voice that screamed fake now that I knew the truth. Actually, I said, I've been thinking about Jake a lot today. Emma's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. Oh, honey. I know it's hard, but you can't keep torturing yourself over him. I keep wondering if maybe I was too hasty. Maybe I should have given him a chance to explain. Now Emma's concern looked more genuine, but for all the wrong reasons. Sarah, no. You heard him with your own ears. Some people are just good at manipulation. You're absolutely right, I said, pulling out my phone. Some people are. I played the voice message again, watching Emma's face carefully as Jake's cloned voice filled my apartment. This time, I wasn't listening to the words that had shattered my heart 2 weeks ago. I was watching my sister's micro-expressions, the slight relaxation in her shoulders when the audio started, the tiny satisfied smile she quickly suppressed, the way her eyes never showed surprise because she'd heard this exact recording dozens of times before. When it ended, Emma shook her head sadly. I know it hurts to keep listening to that, but Sarah, you can't keep doing this to yourself. You're right, I said. I should delete it. But first, can you remind me exactly how Jake sent this to you? Emma didn't miss a beat. He was trying to send it to Marcus but accidentally sent it to me instead. I told you this already. Right, but I mean the technical details. Did he text it? Use WhatsApp? Instagram voice message? For the first time, Emma hesitated. It was barely perceptible, maybe half a second, but I caught it. Regular text message. You know, just like an audio attachment. I nodded slowly. That's weird though, because Jake's an iPhone user, and you have Android. Cross-platform audio messages usually show up as links to files, not embedded audio. Plus they compress differently. Emma's smile looked more strained now. I don't really know the technical stuff, Sarah. I just know what I received. Of course. I opened my laptop and pulled up the spectral analysis I'd run that morning. Actually, since I'm a digital media major, I thought I'd run some analysis on the audio file. You know, just to see if I could figure out what Jake was feeling when he said those things. Audio can reveal a lot about emotional state. The color drained from Emma's face as she stared at my screen. The graphs and waveforms meant nothing to her, but she could see the text labels clearly, artificial harmonics detected and digital artifacts present. What is that? She asked, but her voice had changed. The concerned big sister act was cracking. It's a voice authenticity analysis, I said calmly. Turns out the audio you sent me shows clear signs of AI generation. Specifically, it shows patterns consistent with voice cloning technology. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, actually laughed. Sarah, that's ridiculous. You're reaching because you want Jake to be innocent. Am I? I pulled up my phone and showed her Jake's Instagram story from her birthday party. Because I also noticed you filmed Jake doing voice impressions for 12 minutes at your party. That's more than enough source material for most AI voice cloning programs. So what? I filmed him being funny at my birthday. That doesn't mean anything. I opened another tab on my laptop. You're right, it doesn't. But this might. I'd spent the past hour researching voice cloning software, and I'd found something interesting. Most AI voice generation programs required users to create accounts, and many kept logs of generated audio files for technical support purposes. More importantly, they required payment for longer audio samples. I showed Emma a screenshot of VoiceClone Pro's pricing structure. This particular software, which happens to specialize in creating fake conversations, charges $29.99 for audio files over 60 seconds. And look at this interesting feature, you can input a script and it will generate natural-sounding conversation, complete with pauses and emotional inflections. Emma's breathing had changed. Faster, shallower. The thing is, I continued, this company keeps transaction records. And they're required to cooperate with fraud investigations. That was a bluff. I had no idea about their cooperation policies. But Emma didn't know that. I don't know what you're trying to prove here, Emma said, but she was backing toward my front door. I'm not trying to prove anything, I said. I already proved it. The question now is what I'm going to do about it. Emma's mask finally slipped completely. The fake concern disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. You have no idea what you're talking about, she said. And even if you did, who would believe you? That's when I realized just how deep my sister's betrayal really went. Who would believe me? I repeated slowly. Emma, I have digital forensic evidence. I have proof that you systematically collected Jake's voice samples. I have. You have theories, she cut me off, her voice turning sharp. Circumstantial bullshit that makes you sound like a paranoid ex-girlfriend who can't accept that her perfect boyfriend was trash. The venom in her tone was like nothing I'd ever heard from her before. This wasn't my caring older sister, this was someone I didn't recognize. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Why would you do this to me? Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. You really want to know? Fine. Because I'm so fucking tired of being your supporting character, Sarah. She started pacing around my small living room, her hands gesturing wildly. Do you have any idea what it's like being your sister? Little Sarah, the golden child. Sarah, who got into state with a full scholarship while I had to take out loans for community college. Sarah, who landed a paid internship junior year while I'm still serving tables at Applebee's at 27. Sarah, who finds the perfect boyfriend while I can't get a second date to save my life. I stared at her, speechless. Emma, I never. You never what? Never noticed that every family dinner turned into the Sarah show? Never realized that mom and dad ask about your grades, your job prospects, your relationship, and then ask me how work is going like I'm some kind of failure? That's not true. Jake was supposed to be temporary. Emma exploded. You were 22 when you started dating him. College relationships don't last. I figured I'd wait it out, be the supportive sister, and eventually you'd move on like normal people do. But then it was 6 months, then a year, then you're talking about meeting his parents and getting an apartment together. She stopped pacing and looked directly at me. You were going to marry him, weren't you? Perfect Sarah was going to have the perfect wedding to her perfect boyfriend, and I'd be the maid of honor pretending to be happy while inside I wanted to scream. The apartment felt too small suddenly, like the walls were closing in. So you decided to destroy it. I decided to give you a dose of reality, Emma said coldly. Jake wasn't some Prince Charming. He was just a guy. But you treated him like he was God's gift to womankind, and everyone ate it up. Oh, Sarah and Jake are so cute together. Oh, Jake is so good for Sarah. It made me sick. I thought about all the times Emma had helped me with relationship advice, all the late-night phone calls when I'd gushed about something sweet Jake had done. She'd been encouraging me, pushing me to be more vulnerable with him, helping me plan romantic gestures. You were setting me up to fall harder, I realized. All those times you told me to trust him more, to open up more. You wanted me to be completely invested so it would hurt worse when you pulled the rug out. Emma's smile was sharp as glass. You were so easy, Sarah. So trusting. When I suggested you should tell Jake about your anxiety issues, or when I helped you pick out that expensive lingerie for your anniversary, I was just making sure you were all in. My hands clenched into fists. You're sick. I'm realistic. Do you know what it's like watching your little sister live the life you're supposed to have? I'm 3 years older than you. I should be the one with the career prospects and the loving boyfriend and the bright future. Instead, I'm watching you get everything handed to you while I can't even get a guy to call me back after a first date. So you used AI to fake evidence that Jake was cheating. I used the resources available to me to show you what kind of person he really was. What kind of person he really was. My voice was rising. Emma, you made it all up. Jake never said any of those things. He never cheated. You fabricated evidence to destroy an innocent person because you were jealous. Innocent? Emma scoffed. Please. All guys cheat eventually. I just saved you from finding out the hard way in 5 years when you're married with kids and it's too late to start over. The casual certainty in her voice was terrifying. She actually believed what she was saying, or she'd convinced herself she did. Jake loves me, I said quietly. Jake loves the idea of you. Just like everyone else does. Perfect little Sarah who can do no wrong. Emma picked up her purse and headed for the door. But guess what? Your perfect relationship is over, and now you get to see what the real world is like. You're welcome. She paused at the door and turned back to me. And Sarah? If you try to tell anyone about your little conspiracy theory, I'll make sure everyone knows you've had a complete psychological breakdown over a bad breakup. Who do you think they'll believe, your concerned older sister who's been taking care of you for weeks, or the girl who's making wild accusations about AI voice cloning because she can't accept that her boyfriend was scum? The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone with the devastating realization that I'd lost more than just my boyfriend. I'd lost my sister too. I sat in my empty apartment for exactly 11 minutes after Emma left, staring at the bagels she'd brought as some twisted peace offering. Then I called Jake back. She just confessed, I said the moment he picked up. Emma admitted she faked the whole thing. Jesus Christ. Jake's voice was tight with anger. Sarah, I am so sorry. I can't believe your own sister would. There's more. I told him everything, Emma's jealousy, her systematic plan to make me fall harder before destroying us, her threat to claim I'd had a psychological breakdown if I tried to expose her. When I finished, Jake was quiet for a long time. We have to tell people, he finally said. Your parents, your friends. She can't just get away with this. She's right about one thing though, I said, hating myself for even thinking it. Who's going to believe that my sister used AI to fake your voice? It sounds insane. You have proof. The audio analysis, the voice cloning research. I have circumstantial evidence and technical data that most people won't understand. I pulled up Emma's Instagram on my laptop, scrolling through 2 years of her playing the supportive sister role. Look at her social media. She's been documenting herself as the caring older sister helping me through relationship milestones. Every birthday post about me, every comment on my photos with you, she's been building a narrative where she's the one looking out for me. Jake was quiet, and I knew he was seeing the same problem I was. Emma hadn't just destroyed our relationship, she'd been laying groundwork to discredit me for months, maybe years. There has to be something, Jake said. Some digital trail. You said she had to pay for the voice cloning software, right? That gave me an idea. Jake, I need you to do something for me. Call Marcus and ask him about October 3rd specifically. Ask him if you sent him any voice messages that day, or if you were even talking to him around 11:47 p.m. Why? Because the fake message was supposedly meant for Marcus. If Emma's going to claim you sent it by accident, there should be some record of you actually communicating with him that night. While Jake called Marcus, I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Screenshots of Emma's social media interactions with Jake's posts, timestamps from the birthday party video, the audio analysis results. If I was going to expose Emma, I needed to be thorough. My phone rang. Jake. Marcus says he was at his girlfriend's place that entire night on October 3rd. We didn't text at all that day, and we definitely weren't having any conversations about you or anyone else. He actually seemed pretty offended that someone would fake me saying that stuff about you. Good. That's another hole in Emma's story. I saved the conversation details to my growing evidence file. I'm going to call Dr. Kim from the Digital Forensics Lab. Maybe she can help me strengthen the technical analysis. Sarah, wait. Before you do anything else, I think we need to consider that Emma might not be done. The thought sent a chill down my spine. What do you mean? Think about it. She just got confronted with proof that you know what she did. She's cornered now, and cornered people do desperate things. What if she tries to get ahead of this? What if she starts telling people you're having a breakdown before you can expose her? As if summoned by his words, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. Emma called and said she's worried about you. She thinks you might need professional help dealing with the breakup. Should Dad and I drive up this weekend? My blood went cold. It had been less than 30 minutes since Emma left my apartment. She's already started, I whispered to Jake. Jake, she's already calling my parents. I screenshotted my mom's text and sent it to him. Emma told them I need professional help. That manipulative, Jake caught himself. Okay, we need to move fast. If she's already planting seeds that you're having a mental health crisis, we have maybe a day or two before that narrative takes hold. I was already typing a response to my mom. I'm fine, Mom. Emma and I just had a disagreement about something. You don't need to drive up. But my hands were shaking so badly I had to retype it twice. There's something else, Jake said. I've been thinking about this while you were talking. Emma didn't just randomly decide to destroy our relationship on October 3rd. The timing was too specific. What happened right before she sent you that fake audio? What changed? I closed my eyes, thinking back to early October. The apartment, I said suddenly. Jake, remember? October 2nd was when you showed me those apartment listings for spring semester. We were talking about getting a place together off campus. And you were excited. You probably told Emma about it. I called her that same night. I was so happy. I told her we were looking at a 2-bedroom place on Maple Street, and that you'd already started calculating how much we'd save on rent if we moved in together. The memory felt like a knife twist now. She congratulated me. Said she thought it was a big step and she was proud of how mature our relationship had become. So she knew you were getting serious about a future together. That's what triggered her to act. My mom texted back, sweetheart, Emma said you've been having paranoid thoughts about Jake. She's concerned you might hurt yourself. Please call me. I showed Jake the message. She told my parents I might hurt myself. Jake, she's trying to get me committed or something. No, she's trying to discredit you preemptively. Think about it, if you call your parents right now and try to explain that Emma used AI technology to fake audio of me cheating, what's that going to sound like right after she told them you're having paranoid delusions? He was right. The more frantic I sounded trying to defend myself, the more I'd be playing into Emma's narrative that I was having a breakdown. My phone started ringing. Mom. Don't answer it yet, Jake said. We need a strategy first. What about your friends? Who do you trust most? Probably Melissa. She's been asking what happened between us for weeks. I pulled up Melissa's contact. But Jake, what if Emma's already gotten to her too? Only one way to find out. Call her, but don't lead with the AI stuff. Just ask if Emma has said anything to her about you lately. I dialed Melissa's number, my heart pounding. Sarah. Oh my god, I was just about to call you. Emma reached out to me about 20 minutes ago. She's really worried about you, babe. She said you've been having some kind of breakdown and you're making up conspiracy theories about Jake? Melissa's voice was gentle but concerned. She asked me to keep an eye on you and maybe suggest you talk to someone professional. I felt like I was drowning. Melissa, what exactly did she tell you? That you've been obsessing over audio files and claiming Jake's voice was artificially generated or something? And that you've been doing weird technical analysis trying to prove he didn't cheat on you? Melissa paused. Sarah, honey, I know breakups are hard, but Emma showed me some screenshots of texts you sent her. You sounded pretty intense. What screenshots? But even as I asked, I knew. Emma had been documenting our conversations, probably editing them to make me sound unhinged. Look, I don't want to make you feel worse, but maybe Emma's right. Maybe talking to someone might help you process this in a healthier way. I hung up without saying goodbye, my hands trembling with rage and fear. Emma wasn't just covering her tracks. She was systematically destroying my credibility with everyone I cared about, using my own knowledge of digital forensics against me to make me sound paranoid and delusional. And it was working. My phone buzzed with another text, this time from my dad. Pumpkin, your mother and I are driving up tonight. Emma says you haven't been eating and you're not sleeping. We're worried sick. I stared at the message, realizing Emma's plan was even more diabolical than I'd thought. She wasn't just discrediting me, she was forcing a crisis that would make me look unstable when my parents arrived to find me trying to explain AI voice cloning and digital forensics. Jake, I need to hang up and think, I said. She's bringing my parents into this now. Wait, Sarah. Before you go, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. What? What if we give Emma exactly what she wants? I almost laughed. What are you talking about? Think about it. She's expecting you to fight back, to sound crazy trying to defend yourself. But what if instead, you played along? What if you let her think her plan worked completely? Jake, that makes no sense. Hear me out. Emma's weakness is her ego. She destroyed our relationship because she was jealous, and now she's covering it up because she's scared. But deep down, she's probably proud of what she pulled off. It was technically sophisticated, emotionally manipulative, perfectly executed. I was quiet, trying to follow his logic. What if you called her and apologized? Jake continued. What if you told her you realized you were being paranoid, that the breakup made you temporarily lose perspective, and you're grateful she's looking out for you? You want me to let her win? I want you to make her feel safe enough to gloat. People like Emma can't resist explaining how clever they were once they think they're untouchable. The idea made my skin crawl, but I could see the strategy behind it. You think she'd admit to the voice cloning if she thought I'd already been discredited? I think she'd love the chance to explain to her pathetic little sister exactly how she outsmarted her. Especially if you approached it right, maybe even thanked her for saving you from Jake or something. My call waiting beeped. Mom again. I have to answer this, I told Jake. My parents are probably already in the car. Okay, but Sarah? Whatever you decide to do, don't try to convince them about the AI tonight. Emma's already set the stage. If you sound defensive or technical, you'll be playing right into her hands. I switched to my mom's call. Hi, Mom. Sarah Elizabeth, you have had me worried sick. Emma said you called her this morning talking about voice cloning and fake audio files. Honey, that doesn't sound like you. I closed my eyes, forcing my voice to stay calm. Mom, I think I just got overwhelmed by the breakup. Emma was trying to help me see that maybe I was making things more complicated than they needed to be. So you're not having paranoid thoughts about Jake? The word paranoid hit like a slap. Emma had chosen her terminology carefully. I think I was just looking for reasons to excuse his behavior instead of accepting that he wasn't the person I thought he was. I could hear my mom's relief through the phone. Oh, sweetheart. That's completely normal after a hard breakup. But Emma was so worried, she said you'd been up all night doing research on artificial intelligence and audio manipulation? I was spiraling a little bit, I admitted, hating every word. But talking to Emma today helped me realize I was trying to create some elaborate explanation instead of just accepting that Jake hurt me. Well, your father and I are still coming up tonight. We want to take you to dinner and make sure you're taking care of yourself. After I hung up with Mom, I sat in my apartment staring at Emma's contact information. Jake's plan was risky, but it might be my only shot at getting Emma to confess. If I could record her admitting to the voice cloning, even gloating about it, I'd have real evidence instead of just technical analysis that people didn't understand. I opened my voice recording app and dialed Emma's number. Sarah? She sounded cautious. How are you feeling? Like an idiot, I said, putting as much shame into my voice as I could manage. Emma, I owe you a huge apology. I think the breakup made me temporarily lose my mind. There was a pause, then Emma's voice warmed considerably. Oh, honey. I was so worried about you. When you started talking about AI and voice analysis, I didn't know what to think. I was grasping at straws because I couldn't accept that Jake fooled me so completely. Each word tasted like poison, but I forced myself to continue. You were right about him all along, weren't you? I tried to warn you gently over the months, but you were so in love. Emma's tone was becoming almost maternal now. Sometimes we have to protect the people we care about from their own blind spots. My heart started racing. That was close to an admission. I keep thinking about how perfectly timed everything was, I said carefully. Like, if you hadn't gotten that voice message when you did, I might have made the mistake of moving in with him. Emma was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a hint of something I'd never heard before. Pride. You know what's funny? Emma said, her voice taking on that pride-tinged tone. The timing really was perfect. Almost like it was meant to happen. I held my breath, keeping the recording app running. What do you mean? Well, think about it. You just told me about looking at apartments with Jake the night before. You were so excited, talking about how you were ready to take the next step. Emma's voice was getting more animated now. And I realized that if I didn't act soon, you really would end up trapped with him. Trapped? I prompted, trying to sound grateful rather than horrified. Sarah, you would have gotten engaged within a year. I could see it happening, you'd move in together, get comfortable, and then Jake would propose because that's what everyone expected. And you would have said yes because you thought he was perfect. My stomach churned, but I kept my voice steady. I probably would have. You saved me from making a huge mistake. I did. The satisfaction in Emma's voice was unmistakable now. And honestly, it wasn't even that hard once I figured out the right approach. This was it. This was her about to confess. What do you mean? I asked softly. Emma laughed, and it sounded nothing like the sister I'd grown up with. Sarah, you literally handed me everything I needed. All those voice messages you'd screenshot and show me because you thought Jake was so sweet. That video from my birthday party where he did impressions for 12 minutes straight. You gave me hours of source material without even realizing it. My hands were shaking, but I managed to keep my voice curious rather than accusatory. Source material for what? For showing you who he really was, obviously. Emma's tone suggested I was being slow. Though I have to admit, the technology made it almost too easy. Did you know you can clone someone's voice with just 30 seconds of audio now? But I had so much more than that to work with. There it was. She just admitted to voice cloning on a recorded call. Emma, I said carefully, are you saying you made that voice message? Suddenly, the line went very quiet. I could practically hear Emma's brain catching up to her mouth. I'm saying I helped you see the truth about Jake, she said finally, her voice cooler now. However, that truth needed to be revealed. She was backing away from the full confession, but she'd already said enough. I had her admitting to using voice cloning technology, to deliberately timing the reveal, to using Jake's voice samples from my birthday party. Right, I said quickly. I'm just grateful you were looking out for me. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't intervened when you did. That's what big sisters are for. Emma's warmth was returning, but there was still an edge of caution. Sarah, you're not recording this call or anything, are you? My heart stopped. What? No, of course not. Why would I record us talking? I don't know. After this morning, I want to make sure you're really okay. You seemed so convinced that the voice message was fake. I was being delusional, I said, forcing a laugh. Honestly, Emma, I'm embarrassed I put you through that. You spend all this time taking care of me after my breakup, and I repay you by basically accusing you of, what? Being some kind of evil mastermind? It sounds ridiculous now. Emma laughed too, and the sound made my skin crawl. It really does. Though I have to say, if I were going to fake audio of someone, I'd probably do a better job than whoever you thought was targeting you. What do you mean? Well, you mentioned AI artifacts in a spectral analysis, right? Any decent voice cloning software worth its salt would eliminate those. The really sophisticated programs can create audio that's completely indistinguishable from the real thing. Emma paused. Not that I'd know personally, of course. She couldn't help herself. Even while being cautious, Emma had to demonstrate how much she knew about the technology she'd used to destroy my relationship. Of course, I agreed. I was probably just seeing patterns that weren't there because I wanted them to be there. Exactly. Sometimes the simple explanation is the right one. Jake said those things because that's who he really is. We talked for a few more minutes, with Emma giving me advice on moving forward and me playing the role of the grateful little sister who'd learned her lesson. When I finally hung up, I had 43 minutes of audio, including Emma's admission to voice cloning and her detailed knowledge of AI technology she claimed to know nothing about. But as I sat there looking at the recording, I realized Emma had been smart about one thing. She'd never explicitly said I created fake audio of Jake cheating. She danced around it, admitted to having the means and motive, but always maintained plausible deniability. It might be enough to convince Jake, maybe even my parents. But would it be enough to prove to everyone else that Emma had systematically destroyed my relationship? My phone buzzed with a text from my dad, just past the exit for campus. Should be at your place in 20 minutes, pumpkin. I had 20 minutes to decide whether to play the role of the recovering breakdown victim, or to risk everything on a recorded confession that might not be as damning as I hoped. 20 minutes to choose between letting Emma win, or gambling everything on a truth that still sounded impossible. I stared at my phone for 15 of those 20 minutes, playing Emma's recorded confession over and over. Each time, I heard something different. Sometimes it sounded like a clear admission of guilt, other times like the ramblings of someone trying to be hypothetically helpful about voice cloning technology. At 7:43 p.m., I heard my parents' car door slam in the parking lot. I made my decision. When Mom and Dad knocked, I opened the door looking exactly like what Emma had described to them, tired, a little fragile, but not unhinged. I hugged them both, letting Mom fuss over whether I'd been eating enough and accepting Dad's offer to order pizza from Romano's. Emma said you had a rough day, Mom said gently, settling onto my couch. But she also said talking to her this afternoon helped you get some perspective. It did. I sat across from them, my phone with the recording burning a hole in my pocket. Actually, there's something I need to tell you both. About Emma. About what really happened with Jake. Dad's expression shifted immediately. Sweetheart, if this is about those conspiracy theories Emma mentioned. It's not a conspiracy theory. I pulled out my phone and set it on the coffee table. Emma used artificial intelligence to fake audio of Jake saying he cheated on me. She destroyed my relationship on purpose because she was jealous. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom and Dad exchanged one of those married couple looks that said everything. This was exactly what Emma had prepared them for. Sarah, Mom said carefully, honey, that sounds insane. I know. But I have proof. I opened the spectral analysis on my laptop, then pulled up Emma's Instagram story from her birthday party. Look, she filmed Jake doing voice impressions for 12 minutes. That's more than enough source material for AI voice cloning. Dad leaned forward, squinting at my laptop screen. Pumpkin, this just looks like graphs and numbers. And Emma filming Jake at a party doesn't prove anything except that she was being a good hostess. But listen to this. I played 30 seconds of Emma's recorded confession from that afternoon, the part where she talked about having hours of source material and how voice cloning technology made it almost too easy. When it ended, Mom was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, I hear Emma saying she helped you see the truth about Jake. I don't hear her confessing to faking anything. She's being careful with her words, but she admitted to using voice cloning technology. She knows specific details about AI audio generation that she claimed to know nothing about this morning. Dad rubbed his temples. Let me ask you this, have you considered that maybe Emma researched this voice cloning stuff today, after you accused her of it? Maybe she looked it up to understand what you thought she'd done? I felt like I was drowning. Dad, the timestamps show that Emma filmed Jake at a party and later sent you audio of him cheating. That's not proof of anything except bad timing. My phone rang. Jake. I looked at my parents, both watching me with the careful expressions of people trying not to spook someone they thought was fragile. It's Jake, I said. Sarah, Mom said gently, maybe talking to Jake right now isn't the best idea. You've had an emotionally intense day. He's the other victim here. Emma destroyed his reputation too. I answered the call, putting it on speaker before my parents could protest. Sarah, I've been thinking about what you said earlier. Jake's voice filled my small living room. About Emma getting to your friends first. I think we need to, oh. Are your parents there? Yes, Dad said firmly. And young man, Sarah's been through enough today without. Mr. Chen, with all due respect, your daughter Emma used AI technology to fake audio of me saying horrible things about Sarah. She destroyed our relationship because she was jealous. The conviction in Jake's voice gave me hope, but I could see my parents' expressions hardening. To them, this just confirmed that I'd gotten Jake caught up in my delusions. Jake, Mom said, her voice taking on that patient tone she'd used when I was 7 and insisted there were monsters under my bed. We understand you and Sarah are both hurting, but these accusations against Emma are completely true, Jake interrupted. And I can prove it. My heart jumped. What do you mean? I mean, I just spent 2 hours with Marcus going through his phone records, and I found something Emma didn't account for. What did you find? I asked Jake, my heart pounding as my parents leaned forward despite themselves. Marcus has been dating this girl Stephanie since August, right? And she's super active on social media, posts Instagram stories constantly. On October 3rd, the night Emma claims I sent that voice message to Marcus by accident, Stephanie posted a story at 11:52 p.m. Jake paused, and I could hear him taking a breath. The story shows Marcus passed out on her couch with a timestamp. He'd been there since 8 p.m. that night helping her study for a midterm. But here's the thing, in the background of Stephanie's video, you can see Marcus's phone on the coffee table. The screen is black. Dead battery. My dad frowned. I don't understand what that proves. It proves Marcus couldn't have received any messages from me that night, accidental or otherwise. His phone died around 9 p.m. according to Stephanie, and he didn't charge it until the next morning. Emma's entire story about me sending that voice message to the wrong person falls apart. I watched my parents' faces carefully. Dad was still skeptical, but Mom looked troubled. That is odd timing, Mom admitted slowly. There's more, Jake continued. I asked Marcus to check his phone records from his carrier. We can see every text, every call, every data transfer from October 3rd. There's literally no communication between us that entire day. The last time we texted was October 1st about borrowing his statistics notes. I pulled up my laptop and opened Emma's contact information. Mom, Dad, look at this. Emma claimed Jake sent her that voice message by accident at 11:47 p.m. But Jake just proved Marcus's phone was dead by then, so Jake couldn't have been trying to send him anything. Plus, Jake added, his voice getting stronger, I checked my own phone records too. I never sent any voice messages to anyone on October 3rd. Not to Marcus, not to Emma, not to anybody. My phone shows I was on campus Wi-Fi doing research in the library until 11:30, then I went straight back to my dorm and called it a night. Dad was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. So you're saying Emma lied about how she received this audio message? I'm saying Emma lied about everything, Jake said firmly. She didn't receive anything from me by accident. She created that audio using voice cloning software, then invented a story about accidental delivery to make it seem authentic. My phone buzzed with a text message. Emma, how did the talk with Mom and Dad go? Are you feeling better about everything? I showed the message to my parents. She's checking up on her handiwork. Sarah, Mom said carefully, even if Jake's right about the phone records, that doesn't necessarily mean Emma created fake audio. Maybe she was mistaken about the details of how she received it. Mom, Jake's phone shows 0 outgoing voice messages on October 3rd, 0. Marcus's phone was dead. There's no possible way Emma received anything from Jake that night, accidental or intentional. Dad picked up my phone and looked at Emma's text message again. The timing of this message is interesting too. She's checking on you right after we arrived. Because she orchestrated this whole intervention, I said. She called you claiming I was having a breakdown right after I confronted her with proof this morning. She's been managing the narrative from the beginning. Mom stood up and walked to my kitchen window, staring out at the parking lot. When she turned back, her expression had changed. Sarah, play that recording of Emma again. The part where she talks about the voice cloning technology. I queued up the relevant section and hit play. Emma's voice filled the room again. Did you know you can clone someone's voice with just 30 seconds of audio now? But I had so much more than that to work with. Any decent voice cloning software worth its salt would eliminate those artifacts. The really sophisticated programs can create audio that's completely indistinguishable from the real thing. When it ended, Dad was shaking his head slowly. That's awfully specific knowledge for someone who was supposedly just trying to be supportive. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Emma, tell Mom and Dad I said hi. So glad they came up to check on you. Family is everything, red heart. Looking at that heart emoji after everything she'd done made me feel sick. She has no idea we know about Marcus's phone records, I realized. Emma thinks her story is bulletproof. Jake, I said, an idea forming, what if we called Emma right now? With my parents here? If she thinks I've been discredited and my parents are convinced I had a breakdown, she might not be as careful with her words. Mom looked uncertain. Sarah, I don't want to ambush your sister if she's innocent, then she has nothing to worry about, Dad interrupted, his expression growing stern. But if she really did what you're claiming, then we need to know. I dialed Emma's number and put it on speaker before I could lose my nerve. She answered on the second ring. Hey. How's it going with Mom and Dad? Are you feeling more stable now? The casual way she said stable made my skin crawl. Actually, Emma, we're all here together and something came up. Jake found some discrepancies in the phone records from October 3rd. There was a pause. A long pause. What kind of discrepancies? Emma's voice had shifted, becoming more cautious. Jake leaned toward the phone. Hi Emma, it's Jake. I was just explaining to Mr. and Mrs. Chin that Marcus's phone was completely dead the night you claim I accidentally sent him that voice message. What? How would you know that? Because his girlfriend posted an Instagram story that night showing his dead phone on her coffee table. Timestamped at 11:52 p.m. But you said I sent that message at 11:47 p.m., right? The silence stretched so long I wondered if Emma had hung up. Maybe I got the time wrong, she finally said. It was weeks ago, Sarah. I don't remember every detail perfectly. But Emma, Dad interjected, his voice carrying that tone he'd used when I was caught in lies as a teenager. Jake also says his phone records show he didn't send any voice messages to anyone that entire day. Not to Marcus, not to you, not to anybody. That's impossible. I have the message right here on my phone. Then show it to us, Mom said quietly. If you really received a voice message from Jake, it would show up in your text thread with him. There would be a record of when it was delivered, what time you opened it. Another long pause. I deleted the conversation thread. It was too upsetting for Sarah when she saw it, so I deleted everything to protect her. My parents exchanged a look. Emma was scrambling now, and it showed. That's funny, I said, because this afternoon when I apologized for acting crazy, you seem to know an awful lot about voice cloning technology. You mentioned specific details about spectral analysis and audio artifacts. I researched it after you brought it up this morning. I was trying to understand what you thought had happened. In 4 hours? Jake pressed. You researched AI voice generation, learned about spectral analysis, understood the technical differences between various cloning software, all in the few hours between Sarah confronting you and calling her parents? I'm a fast learner. Dad stood up and started pacing around my small living room. Emma, I've known you for 24 years. You still call me to help you reset your Wi-Fi password. When exactly did you become an expert in artificial intelligence? Dad, And another thing, Mom added, her voice growing sharper. You called us in a panic saying Sarah was having paranoid delusions and might hurt herself. That's a very serious accusation. But from what I'm seeing here, Sarah has presented logical evidence and Jake has corroborated her story with phone records. You're all ganging up on me, Emma said, and for the first time, her voice cracked. I was trying to protect Sarah from a cheating boyfriend, and now you're acting like I'm some kind of criminal. Emma, I said softly, just tell the truth. Please. I know what you did. I know why you did it. Just admit it and maybe we can figure out how to move forward. The silence lasted almost 30 seconds. When Emma spoke again, her voice was completely different. Cold. Flat. You want the truth, Sarah? Fine. Yes, I created that voice message. Yes, I used AI to clone Jake's voice. And you know what? You should be thanking me instead of attacking me. You were about to waste the rest of your 20s on a mediocre guy who would have held you back from everything you could accomplish. The confession hung in the air like a bomb that had just gone off. Mom sank back onto the couch, her face pale. Dad stopped pacing and stared at the phone. But Emma wasn't done. I saved you from a mistake you were too naive to see coming. Jake would have proposed within a year, you would have said yes because you thought you were in love, and then you'd be trapped in suburban mediocrity before you hit 25. I did you a favor. The absolute certainty in Emma's voice, like she genuinely believed she'd done me a favor by destroying my relationship, sent chills down my spine. But what came next was even worse. And honestly? Emma continued, her voice taking on that same proud tone from our earlier conversation. It was almost insultingly easy. You handed me everything I needed, Sarah. Every voice message you showed me, every video you tagged me in. You were so eager to include your big sister in your perfect little romance that you gave me hours of Jake's voice patterns without even realizing it. Dad's face had gone from confused to furious. Emma, do you understand what you've done? You didn't just lie to your sister, you committed fraud. You created false evidence to destroy two innocent people. Innocent? Emma laughed, and the sound was bitter. Dad, you have no idea what it's like being Sarah's sister. Do you know she called me at midnight on October 2nd to gush about apartment hunting with Jake? She was planning their whole future together while I can't even get a second date. So you decided to blow up her relationship? Mom's voice was shaking with anger I'd rarely heard from her. Emma, how could you do this to your own sister? Because someone had to save her from herself. Sarah was going to settle for the first guy who showed her attention, just like Emma stopped abruptly. Just like what? I asked, though I was starting to suspect I knew where this was heading. Nothing. Forget it. No, finish that sentence, Dad said, his voice dangerously quiet. Just like what, Emma? Just like Mom did. The words hit the room like a physical blow. Mom's face went completely white. Excuse me? Mom whispered. You married Dad when you were 23. Got pregnant with me at 24. Gave up your master's program, gave up your career plans, gave up everything to be a suburban housewife. And look how that turned out. You spent the next 27 years wondering what you could have accomplished if you hadn't settled down so young. Emma, that's enough, Dad warned, but Emma was beyond stopping now. Sarah was heading down the exact same path. Jake's a nice enough guy, but he's not special. He's not going to challenge her or push her to be better. He was going to be her comfortable, safe choice, and she'd wake up in 10 years wondering why she felt so empty. I found my voice. That wasn't your decision to make. Someone had to make it. You were so blinded by being in love that you couldn't see you were about to make the same mistake Mom did. At least I gave you a chance to find someone who actually deserves you. By traumatizing her with fake evidence of infidelity? Jake's voice cut through the phone speaker. Emma, you made Sarah think the person she loved was mocking her behind her back. You made her question her judgment, her worth, her ability to trust anyone. How is that helping her? Because now she knows not to settle for the first guy who says he loves her. The casual cruelty of it, the way Emma talked about Jake like he was some random nobody instead of the person I'd been planning a future with, made me want to scream. Emma, Mom said, her voice barely controlled, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you did was not protecting Sarah. It was psychological abuse. You systematically manipulated your sister's emotions and destroyed her trust in someone she loved. That's not love, that's control. I was trying to. You were trying to make yourself feel better about your own life by sabotaging hers, Dad interrupted. And that's unforgivable. For the first time since her confession began, Emma was completely quiet. The silence stretched on until I finally broke it. Emma, I need you to do something for me, I said, my voice steadier than I'd felt in weeks. I need you to call everyone you contacted today. Mom, Dad, Melissa, anyone else. And I need you to tell them the truth about what you did. Sarah, I can't. Yes, you can. Because if you don't, I'm going to do it for you. I have recordings of you confessing. I have Jake's phone records proving your story was impossible. I have digital forensic evidence of the voice cloning. And now I have Mom and Dad as witnesses to everything you just said. Emma's breathing was audible through the phone speaker. You recorded our conversation this afternoon without telling me? The same way you recorded Jake's voice without telling him, then used it to destroy our relationship. Except my recording actually captured something that happened. Sarah, please. If this gets out, it'll ruin my life. My job, my reputation. You should have thought about that before you decided to ruin mine. Dad stepped closer to the phone. Emma, you have 24 hours to start making this right. Call Sarah's friends, explain what you did, and apologize to Jake. If you don't, we'll be filing a police report for fraud and harassment. Dad, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. What you did was criminal. The only question is whether you're going to take responsibility for it or force us to involve the authorities. Mom stood up, her face still pale but her voice firm. Emma, you're my daughter and I love you, but I am horrified by what you've done. You don't get to destroy other people's lives because you're unhappy with your own. I was protecting her. You were protecting yourself, I said quietly. From having to watch me be happy while you were miserable. From having to face your own problems instead of creating problems for everyone else. The line was quiet for almost a minute. Fine, Emma finally said, her voice small and defeated. I'll call Melissa tonight. And I'll apologize to Jake. And you'll get therapy, Mom added firmly. Real therapy. Because Emma, what you did isn't normal jealousy. This was calculated and cruel, and you need professional help. After we hung up, I sat with my parents in stunned silence for a few minutes. Then I looked at Jake's number on my phone. Jake, I am so sorry. For not believing you, for blocking you, for putting you through 2 weeks of hell because my sister is. Sarah, stop, Jake interrupted gently. You're not responsible for what Emma did. She manipulated both of us. Dad cleared his throat. Jake, I owe you an apology too. When Sarah first started explaining about AI and voice cloning, I thought she was having some kind of breakdown. I should have listened more carefully. Mr. Chen, I probably would have reacted the same way. It sounds insane until you see all the evidence. Mom wiped her eyes with a tissue. Sarah, honey, what do you need from us right now? I looked around my small apartment, the bagels Emma had brought that morning still sitting on my counter, the laptop full of forensic evidence I'd never wanted to need, the phone that had delivered 2 weeks of lies. I need to see Jake, I said. I need to look at him and remember what his real voice sounds like when he says he loves me. Jake's voice came through the speaker immediately. Sarah, I love you. I never stopped loving you, not for 1 second of the past 2 weeks. I love you too, I whispered, and meant it more than I'd ever meant anything in my life. 3 months later, Jake and I moved into that 2-bedroom apartment on Maple Street. Emma kept her promise. She called everyone she'd contacted, admitted what she'd done, and started seeing a therapist twice a week. Our relationship would never be the same, but slowly, carefully, we were building something new. And I never, ever took the sound of Jake's real voice for granted again.